Okay, gotta think. Keep my head. I'll just head to the wreckage and see what I can find. Maybe some water. Something.
Maybe with the water.
Perfect.
figured I was never gonna have a son of my own. Hell, I never wanted one. What the hell do I know about raising a kid? Then you came barreling into my life.
Naughty Dog has had some iconic characters. Crash Bandicoot has that dorky, silly charm, while Jak and Daxter made us love whatever an Otzel is. But Uncharted gave us a more photorealistic, but equally loved character, Nathan Drake. To honor the Indiana Jones of video games, we're bringing you his story with the entire Uncharted timeline. So, let's track his wild journey, one clue at a time. Oh, and be sure to subscribe to the leaderboard. Nate's younger years. Nathan Drake was born Nathan Morgan, and he had a less than ideal childhood. His mother, Cassandra Morgan, inspired his deep curiosity about history, which led him to a career we could loosely describe as gunslinging archaeologist. Unfortunately, she died when he was still very young. After Cassandra passed, Nate's father disowned him and their estate. Like I said, it was a less than ideal childhood. Nate and his older brother Sam end up at the St. Francis orphanage, where Nate would end up getting in lots of fights with other kids. Sam eventually gets discharged from the orphanage, but he always helps Nate sneak out. One night, Sam reveals he tracked down whoever bought their mother's stuff. Together, the two ride on Sam's new chopper to break into this person's house. You could call it Nate's first tomb raiding adventure. After some nighttime driving, they reach a creepy, gated mansion. Inside, they find their mother's journal, but they also run into the owner of the house, Evelyn. At first, she holds them at gunpoint and calls the cops, but she quickly realizes who they are. However, just when the police shows up, she has a heart attack, forcing the boys to flee. After getting to safety, Sam and Nate change their last names to Drake to honor their mom's theory about the illegitimate heirs of the pirate Sir Francis Drake, and the rest is history. Sic parvis magna, greatness from small beginnings. 16 years before Drake's fortune, Nate ends up in Cartagena, Colombia, where he's surviving on the streets. He pickpockets a key from Victor Sullivan, using it to open a museum display to take Sir Francis Drake's ring. However, he gets caught by Catherine Marlowe, the leader of an English secret society. Sully helps Nate escape, and from there, the two forge an unbreakable bond. 8 years before Drake's fortune, Nate and Sam in a Panama prison. They team up with Rafe Adler, a treasure hunter, and the trio search for the pirate Henry Avery's treasure. They get a hold of a crucifix, signaling that the next step in securing Avery's treasure lies in a cathedral in Scotland. Unfortunately, they get in a scuffle with a corrupt guard, forcing them to flee the prison. Nate and Rafe break out, but Sam doesn't make it. With Sam gone, Nate gives up on finding Avery's treasure, so Rafe heads to Scotland alone, while Nate continues his own separate treasure hunting journey. Uncharted Golden Abyss. A few years before the events of Uncharted Drake's Fortune, we find Nate somewhere in Panama, this time not in prison. A fellow treasure hunter named Jason Dante hired something important. While there, Nate meets Marissa Chase, one of Dante's colleagues, and the two hit it off. But as it turns out, Dante was working with a local revolutionary leader named Roberto Guerrero. His soldiers take a mysterious amulet from Chase and take Nate prisoner. He breaks free and meets Chase, and they retrieve her amulet. Nate and Chase narrowly escape with their lives, and they make their way to her grandfather's house. He believed that the amulet held the secret to finding Quivera, an ancient city full of riches. Some nearby catacombs to get the next clue for their journey, the Sword of Stephen. On their way out of the catacombs, Guerrero takes Chase hostage, forcing Nate to give up the sword. But Nate calls in Sully as backup to mount a rescue operation. After looking at some markings on the Sword of Stephen, Nate deduces they need to head to the Temple of the Serpents. Sully stays behind to hijack a helicopter, while Nate digs deeper into the temple, saving Chase from some soldiers who set up explosives around the structure. Chase is safe, but she wants to go further into the temple, claiming that Quivera awaits. Nate figures out that her amulet is a literal key to unlocking the door to the underground city. Inside, they find the Golden Abyss, a cavern full of gold, radioactive gold, that is. Dante quickly joins them in the cavern, revealing his plan to mine all the deadly gold. Sully interrupts them with a story about two gorgeous nurses in Buenos Aires. Uncharted, Eye of Indra. Okay, so it's not exactly a game, but this motion comic tells a short story that happens in Indonesia, just before Drake's fortune. Nate meets an American crime lord named Daniel Pinkerton, who wants our hero to find the Eye of Indra. This rare amulet could be worth billions of dollars, so Nate works with a local named Rika Raja to do some research. They deduce that the amulet is hidden inside Pinkerton's home. However, instead of letting the crime lord know, Nate decides to work with Rika and her brother Eddie to steal the Eye of Indra for himself. They infiltrate Pinkerton's home, but get cornered in a gunfight. So Nate thinks the only plan that will save them. They get captured. But just before they do, Nate hides Eddie's gun under a table, calling it his ace in the hole. After some intense torture, Nate reveals that the amulet is in Pinkerton's safe. As Pinkerton marvels at the amulet, Rika breaks free, grabs Eddie's gun, and shoots Pinkerton and his men. The trio meets up outside, celebrating their victory, but then Rika pulls a gun on the other two and takes the treasure for herself. 3 days later, Nate recounts the whole story to Sully, who asks how Nate plans to fund his next adventure, finding Sir Francis Drake's coffin. At that moment, a documentary by Elena Fisher plays on TV. Nate points toward it, saying that she's the key to funding his next expedition. He plans on bringing her to Drake's coffin, and her producers will foot the bill. Uncharted, Drake's Fortune. Sure enough, we find Nate with Elena, who's filming Sir Francis Drake's coffin. Nate busts it open and finds his diary. Unfortunately, his celebration gets cut short when they're attacked by pirates led by none other than Eddie Raja. Nate's ship gets wrecked, but Sully flies in on and Elena. Nate and Sully leave Elena behind to follow Francis Drake's trail to El Dorado. You might think of it as the famed city of gold, but Nate finds out it's actually just a golden statue. In the Amazon rainforest, Nate stumbles upon the next clue on an old U-boat pointing to an undocumented island. However, just as Nate and Sully prepare for their next stop, another treasure hunter named Gabriel Roman holds them at gunpoint. Roman works with Atok Navarro, an archaeologist who also knows his way around a gun. Navarro takes the map from Nate, and Roman shoots Sully square in the chest. Just before Nate also meets his end, the U-boat explodes behind them, giving our hero a small window to escape, but not enough time to grieve. Nate regroups with Elena, and the two make their way to that mysterious island. There, they find a monastery and Sully. He explains that Drake's diary stopped the bullet, and he had been working with Roman to stay alive head down some catacombs that lead to Sir Drake's body. However, they also come across Eddie and his pirates. Suddenly, they're all faced with a greater threat: horrifying, mutated humanoids. They all team up, but Eddie dies in the fight. Nate and Elena head down some catacombs that lead to their way to that mysterious island. There, they find a monastery and Sully. He explains that Drake's diary stopped the bullet, and he had been working with Roman to stay alive ever since. Nate and Elena head down some catacombs that lead to Sir Drake's body. However, they also come across Eddie and his pirates. Suddenly, they're all faced with a greater threat: horrifying, mutated humanoids. They all team up, but Eddie dies in the fight. Diving deeper into the passage, Nate learns that the Nazis were also trying to find El Dorado back in the day. However, the statue was cursed, turning whoever gets near it into whatever those creatures that attack them are. They learn that the hard way. When Nate returns to Elena, Roman and Navarro have taken her hostage. Now on a rescue mission, he and Sully head toward the final showdown. Roman and Navarro find El Dorado, which is actually just a sarcophagus. Roman opens it only to turn into a monster. Navarro puts a bullet in his head, revealing his master plan for her hostage. Now on a rescue mission, he and Sully head toward the final showdown. Roman and Navarro find El Dorado, which is actually just a sarcophagus. Roman opens it only to turn into a monster. Navarro puts a bullet in his head, revealing his master plan to sell the statue as a bioweapon. But by thinking quickly on his feet, Nate sinks the cursed statue and Navarro to the bottom of the ocean, saving Elena in the process. Just before Nate and Elena share a romantic kiss, Sully interrupts, revealing a hoard of gold he stole from Eddie's pirates. Alright, I'm starting to wonder if Sully's doing this on purpose. Uncharted 2, Among Thieves.
We made USAA Renters Insurance for the stuff you love. Because if it's worth lugging up 5 floors, it's worth protecting for as low as 33 cents a day. It's that simple. USAA. What you're made of, we're made for.
2 years after, just before Nate and Elena share a romantic kiss, Sully interrupts. And the train is hacked to pirates. Alright, I'm starting to wonder if Sully's doing this on purpose. Uncharted 2, Among Thieves. 2 years after Drake's fortune, we see Nate horribly wounded in a train in the middle of a snowstorm. And the train is hanging off the edge of a cliff. Nate's just one wrong move away from falling to his death. So, yeah, this is not a great situation for him to be in. But let's just flash back to a couple of months ago. Nate's infiltrating a museum in Istanbul with his old colleague Harry Flynn and his old squeeze, Chloe Fraser. Together, they find a map that reveals what Marco Polo's lost crew carried before they got swept away to Borneo. It's a mysterious artifact named the Chintamani Stone, obtained from Shambhala or...
Jaden, put your shoes up.